Someone asked me to draw an ocean with a never-ending blue sky. Honestly, when I first read that comment, I thought, okay, that sounds simple enough. An ocean? A blue sky? But then I started thinking about it. What does a never-ending sky actually look like? And somehow, the more I thought about it, the harder it became. I didn't want to paint a normal ocean. I didn't want perfect waves, a realistic sunset, or a photograph turned into a painting. I wanted something that felt like a memory, something you might see in a dream, something familiar but slightly impossible. So I decided to make the sky almost endless. No clear beginning, no clear ending, just blue, stretching as far as the imagination can go. I started with the background, and I knew I wanted a lot of movement in it. Instead of making the sky completely smooth, I started building it with visible brushstrokes. The idea was to make the paint itself feel alive, almost like the sky is moving, almost like you're standing there and watching the clouds, the light, and the whole world slowly changing in front of you. I've always loved paintings where you can actually feel the artist's hand. You can see the brushstrokes, you can see the decisions. You can see where one color meets another. That's one of the things I love about Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. The painting doesn't always have to tell you exactly what you're looking at. Sometimes it just needs to tell you how the scene feels. So I started pushing the blue further and further. Different blues, a little white, a little yellow, some darker areas, some warmer colors. Because if the sky is supposed to be endless, I don't think it should be just one shade of blue. The sky changes every second. Maybe our painting should change with it. Then came the ocean, and I wanted the ocean to almost mirror the sky. Not perfectly, because nature is never perfectly symmetrical. The sky has movement, the water has movement, and somewhere between the two, I wanted them to almost become one thing. Like you can't really tell where the sky ends and the ocean begins. And then I had an idea, a paper boat. At first, I wasn't sure if it belonged in this painting. An ocean, this enormous, and then this tiny little paper boat. It almost seemed ridiculous. But that's exactly why I liked it, because suddenly the painting wasn't only about the ocean anymore. It became about the little boat. Think about a paper boat. It's such a simple thing. You fold a piece of paper a few times, put it on water, and watch it float. But it is incredibly fragile. A little rain can destroy it. A big wave can swallow it. And yet, we still put it in the water. We still watch it travel. I think there's something beautiful about that. Maybe that little boat is us. We spend our lives surrounded by things much bigger than ourselves. The ocean, the sky, time, dreams, problems, the future. And sometimes we feel incredibly small. But being small doesn't mean we have to stop moving. The little boat doesn't know how big the ocean is. It just floats. And maybe that's what I imagined when I heard the words, never-ending blue sky. Not just a sky that goes on forever, but a place where there are no walls, no ceiling, nothing telling you where you can or cannot go. Just space. Endless space, and one tiny boat trying to find its way through it. At this point, I stopped worrying about making everything realistic. I wanted the painting to feel a little strange, a little dreamlike. Because dreams don't follow the rules of reality, the ocean can become a mirror. The sky can feel like an entire universe, and a paper boat can suddenly become the most important thing in the picture. Now I'm bringing in some lighter colors. This is probably one of my favorite parts of painting. You can have a dark painting, And then one small area of light suddenly changes everything. The light becomes a path. And in this painting, I wanted that path to lead toward the boat, almost as if the ocean itself is showing the boat where to go. I don't know where this boat is going. Maybe it is going somewhere beautiful. Maybe it is completely lost. Maybe it doesn't even know where it wants to go. And honestly, I think that's okay. Sometimes we don't know where we're going either. We just keep moving, one little wave at a time. At this stage, I started adding more texture, more brushstrokes, more contrast, more little imperfections, and I actually like those imperfections, because if everything was perfectly clean and smooth, I think the painting would lose some of its character. I want you to see that this was painted by a person, not produced by a machine. If there's one thing I would take from this painting, it's probably this. You don't have to be big to begin something. You don't need to know exactly where you're going. And you definitely don't need to have everything figured out. Sometimes you just have to fold your little paper boat, put it in the water, and see where it takes you. And there's actually another reason I like this painting. This little boat reminds me of what I'm doing with this channel. I disappeared for a long time. I wasn't sure if I would ever come back. Then someone left a comment on my previous video, and somehow that tiny comment pushed me back toward something I had almost forgotten. Painting, making videos, sharing things. So here I am again. Maybe this YouTube journey is my little paper boat. I have no idea where it's going. I don't know how many people will watch this video. I don't know what the next painting will be. I don't even know where this whole thing will take me. But I'm putting the boat in the water anyway. And that's enough for now. There is always a strange moment when you are painting. You start with a completely empty surface. At that point, you know exactly what you want to make. At least, you think you do. Then, you put down the first few strokes. And suddenly, the painting starts having a mind of its own. The colors behave differently than you imagined. The shapes start changing, and slowly, your original idea becomes something else. I think that is one of the most interesting things about painting. You begin the painting, but after a while, the painting begins to tell you what it wants. You might have a plan in your head, but the canvas doesn't care about your plan. It forces you to react. You add something, then you have to respond to that. Then you add something else, and suddenly you are not following a plan anymore. You are having a conversation with the painting. That is also why I didn't want this ocean to look perfectly realistic. A real ocean is beautiful, but when you are painting from imagination, you have another option. You can exaggerate things. You can make the blue deeper. You can make the light brighter. You can make the waves move in strange directions. You can make the sky feel enormous. You can basically take reality and bend it a little. I think some paintings work better when they don't look like photographs. A photograph tells you exactly what was there. A painting can tell you what something felt like. And those are two very different things. Maybe you remember standing beside the sea when you were younger. You probably don't remember every individual wave. You remember the blue, the wind, the light, the sound, that feeling of looking at something so large that you almost disappear inside it. That is the feeling I wanted here. And, of course, there is a ridiculous amount of blue in this painting. But I think blue is one of those colors that can say many different things. Blue can feel peaceful. Blue can feel lonely. Blue can feel cold. Blue can feel infinite. And sometimes blue can make you feel like you are looking at something that has no end. That is exactly what I wanted. Not just a blue ocean. I wanted the feeling of endless blue. I wanted the sky and the ocean to almost become the same thing. There should be a moment where you look at the painting and wonder, where does the sky actually end? Where does the ocean begin? Maybe there is a horizon. Maybe there isn't. Maybe the horizon is only something our eyes invented because we need boundaries. But what if there were no boundaries? What if the ocean simply continued into the sky? And then there is this tiny paper boat. Look at how small it is compared to everything around it. The sky is enormous, the ocean is enormous, and this little boat is almost nothing. But somehow, your eyes go straight to it. That is why I kept it, because sometimes the smallest thing in a picture can carry the biggest story. I could have painted a proper wooden boat, something big, something strong, something that could actually survive the ocean, but that would have changed the meaning. A wooden boat belongs there. A paper boat feels like it doesn't, and sometimes the thing that doesn't belong is exactly what makes the painting interesting. There's also something very innocent about a paper boat. Most of us probably made one when we were children. You take a simple piece of paper, fold it again, and somehow it becomes a boat. Then you put it in water and watch it float. For a few minutes, that piece of paper becomes a real adventure. You don't ask where it is going. You just watch it go. And maybe we never completely grow out of that. We get older. We become busy. We get responsibilities. We worry about money. We worry about work. We worry about family. We worry about the future. But somewhere inside us, there is still that person who wants to make a paper boat and see where it goes. Maybe that part of us doesn't disappear. Maybe we just stop listening to it. That is probably why this little boat means more to me than I expected. It is fragile, it is simple, it isn't impressive. Nobody would look at a paper boat and think, wow, what an incredible machine. But it doesn't need to be impressive, it just needs to float, and sometimes that is enough. The ocean doesn't care who made the boat. It doesn't care whether you are an artist. It doesn't care whether you are successful. It doesn't care whether you have everything figured out. The ocean is just there, and the boat has to deal with the waves. That feels strangely familiar, because life is a little bit like that too. We don't control the ocean. We only control whether we put the boat in the water. You might notice that I didn't try to make the paper boat perfectly clean. I actually wanted it to look like a real piece of folded paper. A little uneven, a little fragile, because perfection would make it feel less believable. And this is one of those situations where imperfections actually make the story stronger. It looks like something someone really folded with their hands and then decided to send into the unknown. Now I am working on the reflection. This is where the painting starts becoming a little more magical. The light from the sky falls onto the water, but instead of making it perfectly realistic, I am breaking it into separate brushstrokes. White, yellow, a little orange, different shades of blue. They all come together, and from a distance, your eyes combine them into light. This is probably where you can feel the influence of Impressionists and Post-Impressionists painting the most. The idea that you don't necessarily have to mix every color perfectly. Sometimes, you can place colors beside each other. Let the viewer's eye do some of the work. From very close, you see individual marks. From a distance, those marks become an image. I love that. It makes the painting feel alive. I also wanted the brushstrokes to remain visible. I didn't want to hide every mark, because the brushstroke is part of the story. Someone stood here. Someone made that mark. Then another one. Then another. Hundreds of small decisions eventually become one painting. And when you look at the finished picture, you are actually looking at all those decisions at the same time. Of course, not every decision works. There are moments when I look at something and think, nope, that was a terrible idea. And that happens all the time. Sometimes you put down a beautiful stroke. Sometimes you put down something that makes you question your entire artistic career. And then you have to fix it. That is just part of painting. The funny thing is, when you are painting, you can never completely predict the final result. You can have a reference, you can have a sketch, you can have an idea, but the final painting will almost always surprise you. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a very bad way, and sometimes you don't know which one it is until the next morning. This is why I keep stepping back from the painting. When you work very close to a canvas for a long time, you stop seeing the whole thing. You start seeing problems. This line is wrong. That color is wrong. This wave needs something. That area looks empty. But when you step back, you suddenly see the painting again. And sometimes you realize it was actually okay. I also wanted to leave some areas relatively simple, because not everything needs to be filled. Empty space gives your eyes somewhere to rest. And in a painting about an endless sky, empty space is actually part of the story. If I filled every corner with details, the sky wouldn't feel endless anymore. Sometimes you create infinity by leaving things alone. And this is another reason the boat works. Imagine if I put 10 boats here, or a big ship, or a city, or birds everywhere. The story would completely change. But one tiny boat surrounded by all this empty space makes it feel lonely and peaceful. Maybe a little scary, but also hopeful. And I keep wondering, is the boat lost or is it free? Those two things can look almost identical from the outside. A boat in the middle of nowhere can be completely lost, but it can also be completely free. Nobody is telling it where to go. Nobody is waiting for it. Nobody is stopping it. It can simply move. Maybe the difference is not where you are, but how you feel about being there. When I started this painting, I thought I was simply responding to a comment. Someone asked me to draw an ocean with a never-ending blue sky. That was it. But somewhere along the way, it became something more personal. It became a painting about beginning again, about taking something small and sending it into something enormous. Which brings me back to this channel, because that is basically what I'm doing right now. I'm starting again. I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether this channel will become huge. I don't know whether 10 people will watch this video or 10,000. But I am making it anyway. And maybe that is the whole point. I used to think you had to have everything figured out before you started something. You need the perfect plan, the perfect equipment, the perfect environment, the perfect idea. But life doesn't really work that way. Sometimes you start with whatever you have, whatever you know, whatever little bit of courage you can find, and then you figure things out along the way. This painting started with almost nothing. A comment, an idea, a blank surface, some paint, and a brush. That's it. The rest happened while I was working, and maybe that's how a lot of good things begin. Not with a perfect plan, just with one small decision. Now I'm going back into some of the smaller details. These are the parts most people probably won't notice immediately. A little highlight here, a darker stroke there, a little texture in the water, a little more light around the reflection. But I still enjoy doing them, because painting is not only about the final image, the process itself is the fun part. And now, the painting is finally starting to feel like one complete image. The sky, the ocean, the light, the reflection, and that tiny little paper boat. Everything is beginning to belong together. And I think this is probably my favorite moment in the whole process, when the painting stops looking like a collection of random brushstrokes and starts becoming a world. And technically, this place doesn't exist. There isn't an ocean where the sky continues forever. There probably isn't a perfect little paper boat floating peacefully through endless blue water. But that's the beautiful thing about painting. You can create a place that doesn't exist and still make people feel like they've been there. Maybe that is what art is supposed to do. It doesn't always have to show you something new. Sometimes it takes something you've seen 1,000 times. The ocean, the sky, a boat, and shows it to you differently. It makes you stop for a moment and think and feel something, even if you can't quite explain what that feeling is. At this point, I'm trying very hard not to overwork it. And this is honestly one of the hardest parts of painting, knowing when to stop. You can always add another stroke, another color, another highlight, another detail, but sometimes the painting is already saying what it needs to say. You just have to listen. So I'm taking one last look. Is there anything missing? Does the boat still feel small enough? Does the sky feel endless? Does the water have enough movement? Does the light lead your eyes toward the boat? These are the little questions going through my head right now. And eventually, I have to decide. That's it. And here it is. An ocean, a never-ending blue sky, and one tiny paper boat. It's not exactly what I imagined when I first read that comment. It's actually quite different, but I think that's okay, because the person who left the comment gave me the starting point. The rest of the journey was mine. This is something I really want to say to everyone watching. Your comments can actually change what happens on this channel. I'm not just asking you to watch my videos. I want you to participate. Give me ideas, challenge me, tell me what you want to see. Give me something difficult. Give me something ridiculous. I want to see what you come up with, because imagine this. You leave a comment today. I read it, and maybe next week or next month, I'm sitting here with a blank canvas, painting your idea, and somewhere in the video I say, this painting came from a comment. I think that would be pretty cool. You don't have to be an artist to suggest something. You don't need to know the name of a painting style. You don't need to give me a complicated idea. Just tell me what you want to see. Maybe you want a mountain. Maybe you want a dragon. Maybe you want a lonely house. Maybe you want a futuristic city. Maybe you want something completely impossible. I might actually choose it. And if you are one of the people who watched my previous video, thank you. Seriously, I wasn't sure what would happen when I came back. After being away for so long, pressing that upload button felt strange. But seeing people respond, seeing people suggest things, seeing people actually care about the paintings, that makes me want to keep going. And maybe that's why I keep looking at this little boat. It doesn't look very impressive. It's tiny, it's fragile, and the ocean is enormous. But it's moving. That's enough. Maybe my channel is exactly the same. A little boat, a very big ocean, and no idea where it is going. I could have waited. I could have waited until everything was perfect. I could have waited for better equipment, a better studio, a better camera, a better plan. But if I kept waiting for everything to be perfect, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. So I decided to start with what I have, just like the paper boat. So now I want to ask you, where should we go next? What should I paint? I have some ideas of my own, but honestly, I'd rather hear yours. Maybe one of your comments will become the next painting, and maybe that painting will lead to another idea, and another one, and another. Who knows? For now, this little boat is going somewhere. I don't know where, and I don't think it needs to know either. It just needs to keep floating. And maybe that's a good lesson for all of us. We don't always need to know the destination. Sometimes we just need to begin. So thank you for spending almost 24 minutes with me. Thank you for watching the painting come together. Thank you for giving me the idea. And thank you for being here while I figure out this new chapter of the channel. If you're an old subscriber, welcome back. If you're new, welcome to the channel. I hope you'll stay for the next painting. And before you leave, tell me what I should draw next. Seriously. Put your idea in the comments. I will be reading them. And if I choose your idea, you might just see it become a painting in the next video. So, what should I draw? I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep your little boat moving.